My dear, loving soul, you were not placed on this earth to overextend yourself for others at the cost of your own energy. You were not born to please, to accommodate, or to make everyone around you feel comfortable while you silently shrink yourself. There is a power within you, and it is time to reclaim it. Today, we are going to talk about the importance of setting boundaries and valuing yourself, especially when it comes to men. Being warm and kind is a beautiful trait, but when friendliness turns into overgiving, it leads to exhaustion, disappointment, and a lack of appreciation. It is time to honor yourself by no longer giving away your energy so freely. Your energy is sacred. It is the essence of who you are, the life force that fuels your dreams, your peace, and your happiness. Yet so many of us give it away too freely, pouring ourselves into people who do not appreciate, reciprocate, or deserve it. This is especially true when it comes to men. Women are often taught that kindness is a virtue, that being accommodating makes them lovable, and that being overly understanding will bring them closer to others. But the truth is, not every man deserves your energy, your time, or your emotional investment. Too often we find ourselves in situations where we give without receiving, where we nurture without being nurtured, and where we overextend ourselves for the sake of keeping a connection alive. We justify the imbalance by saying, "He's just going through something," or "If I show him love, maybe he will change." But this pattern only leads to disappointment, exhaustion, and ultimately resentment. The reality is that a man who truly values you will not require you to overextend, to prove your worth. Your energy is a privilege, not a right. It is something that should be earned, respected, and cherished. When you give too much of yourself to the wrong person, you deplete your spirit. You sacrifice your emotional well-being for someone who may not even recognize the value of what you're offering. And when you continuously give without discernment, you send the message that your energy is easily accessible, that anyone can have it without effort. A man who does not appreciate your energy will take it for granted. He will assume that your kindness is endless, that your patience has no limits, and that your willingness to be there for him is something he never has to earn. But a woman who knows her worth understands that her energy is valuable. She does not waste it on men who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or indifferent to her needs. She does not chase, convince, or beg for someone's attention. Instead, she stands firm in her power, knowing that the right person will never make her question her value. Think about all the times you have given your energy to someone who did not deserve it. Perhaps you answered texts late at night when you were exhausted, only to receive half-hearted replies. Maybe you rearranged your schedule to be available for him, only to have him cancel at the last minute. You listened to his problems, uplifted his spirit, and encouraged his dreams. Yet, when you needed the same support, he was nowhere to be found. These are not the actions of someone who values you. These are the actions of someone who is taking advantage of your generosity. It is time to change the pattern. It is time to recognize that not every man is worthy of your time, your energy, or your emotional investment. Just because someone is interested in you does not mean they deserve access to you. Just because someone enjoys your presence does not mean they appreciate your value. You must learn to protect your energy the same way you protect your home. You do not allow just anyone to walk through your door. They must be invited, and even then, only if they show respect and appreciation. The same rule must apply to your emotional and spiritual space. When you begin to set boundaries around your energy, you will notice a shift. Men who were once so eager for your attention may suddenly grow distant when they realize they can no longer take you for granted. Some may accuse you of being cold or selfish, but do not let their words weaken you. These reactions come from those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. They are not upset because you changed. They are upset because they can no longer use you. A woman who values herself does not need to overgive to feel loved. She does not need to be excessively available to feel wanted. She does not need to prove her worth through endless acts of kindness. Instead, she moves with confidence, knowing that the right man will recognize her value without her having to exhaust herself in the process. You must understand that there is nothing wrong with being kind, but there is a difference between kindness and self-sacrifice. You can be warm without overextending. You can be compassionate without being taken advantage of. You can be giving without draining yourself. The key is discernment, knowing when to give and when to step back, knowing who deserves your energy and who does not. When you begin to prioritize yourself, something incredible happens. You start attracting people who respect you, who appreciate your presence, and who add to your life rather than take from it. You become a woman of high value, not because you are trying to be, but because you no longer settle for less than you deserve. And that is the kind of energy that changes everything. There is nothing wrong with being friendly. Warmth and kindness are beautiful traits that make the world a better place. However, when friendliness crosses into over-friendliness, especially in interactions with men, it can often lead to misunderstandings. Many women have found themselves in uncomfortable situations simply because their natural kindness was misinterpreted as romantic or sexual interest. It is a frustrating reality, but one that must be acknowledged and navigated with awareness. When you are overly friendly, you may think you are simply being kind, engaging in casual conversation or showing empathy. But in the mind of some men, this can be read as an open invitation. They may assume that your laughter at their jokes, your willingness to listen, or your polite engagement in conversation means you are interested in something more. This is not because you have done anything wrong, but because some people are wired to mistake attention for attraction. Think about a time when you were simply being nice to a man, only to later find out he believed you were flirting with him. You might have been shocked, confused, or even annoyed. How did he get that impression? You were just being yourself, treating him with the same warmth and kindness you extend to others. Yet, in his mind, your friendliness signaled that you wanted something more. This happens because friendliness is often subjective. What feels like basic human decency to you might feel like an invitation to someone else. Some men, particularly those who struggle with boundaries, see any form of engagement as encouragement. If you smile too much, they think you're interested. If you respond quickly to texts, they assume you're eager to talk. If you show concern for their well-being, they believe you are emotionally invested. And once they form these assumptions, it can become difficult to correct their perception without conflict. Another challenge with over-friendliness is that it can create expectations. When you are always available, always cheerful, and always accommodating, people start expecting that from you. A man who has gotten used to your constant attention may feel entitled to it. He may assume that just because you were friendly yesterday, you will be just as friendly today, tomorrow, and the day after. The moment you pull back, set a boundary, or show disinterest, he may react negatively. He might feel rejected, confused, or even angry. And in extreme cases, he may accuse you of leading him on. The truth is, you are not responsible for how others interpret your behavior, but you are responsible for protecting your energy. Being overly friendly can attract the wrong kind of attention and put you in uncomfortable situations where you have to explain yourself, justify your actions, or even distance yourself from people who assumed too much. This is why it is essential to be mindful of the signals you are sending, not because you should change who you are, but because you deserve to be understood for your true intentions. Over-friendliness can also make it harder for men to take you seriously. When you are too nice, too accommodating, or too eager to please, Some men may see you as someone who can be easily manipulated. They may test your boundaries, push limits, and see how much they can get away with. A woman who is overly friendly may unintentionally send the message that she is willing to tolerate behavior that she should not accept. This does not mean you need to be cold, distant, or rude. It simply means that balance is necessary. A confident woman knows how to be warm without being overgiving. She knows how to be kind without being overly available. She understands that her time, her attention, and her energy are valuable, and she does not distribute them freely to just anyone. One of the most effective ways to avoid misunderstandings is to set clear boundaries. If a man assumes you are interested when you are not, it is okay to correct him. If he expects constant engagement from you, it is okay to pull back. If he feels entitled to your time and attention, it is okay to say no. You do not owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. It is also helpful to observe how someone responds to your friendliness. A man who respects you will not assume too much or push boundaries. He will understand that kindness does not always mean interest, and that politeness does not equal availability. But a man who feels entitled to your attention will quickly show frustration if you are not giving him what he expects. Pay attention to these reactions. They tell you everything you need to know. At the end of the day, your friendliness is a reflection of your heart, but it does not have to come at the expense of your comfort. You can be kind without overextending. You can be warm without being overly available. And you can be friendly without letting others take advantage of it. The key is balance, self-awareness, and the understanding that you are never obligated to give more than what feels right for you. Friendliness is a beautiful trait. It opens doors, fosters connections, and brings warmth to the people around you. But there is a fine line between being kind and allowing others to take advantage of your kindness. Too often, friendliness is mistaken for weakness, leaving you drained, overextended, or even disrespected. This is why it is essential to remember that while kindness is a strength, it should never replace the boundaries that protect your energy, your time, and your self-worth. When you prioritize being friendly over maintaining clear boundaries, you may find yourself saying yes when you really mean no. You might agree to plans you don't want to attend, engage in conversations that make you uncomfortable, or tolerate behavior that crosses your limits, all because you don't want to seem rude or unkind. But true kindness does not require self-sacrifice. You can be warm and approachable while still honoring your own needs. Many people, especially women, are conditioned to believe that being agreeable makes them more likable. They are taught to avoid conflict, to be accommodating, and to put the feelings of others above their own. But when friendliness overshadows boundaries, it creates a pattern where you feel obligated to please others at your own expense. You end up over-explaining, over-apologizing, and overextending yourself to avoid disappointing people who may not even appreciate your efforts. A lack of boundaries can also lead to resentment. When you give too much of yourself, expecting that others will do the same, you may start feeling unappreciated or for granted. You might wonder why people don't respect your time, why they keep pushing past your limits, why they seem to assume that you will always be available. The answer is simple. When you do not set boundaries, others assume you don't have any. Friendliness should never come at the cost of your well-being. You can be kind and still say no. You can be compassionate and still refuse to tolerate mistreatment. You can be understanding without allowing people to walk all over you. Boundaries are not barriers. They are a way of ensuring that your kindness is given to those who truly appreciate and respect it. Setting boundaries does not mean you stop being friendly. It means you become intentional with your energy. It means recognizing when someone is taking advantage of your kindness and knowing when to step back. It means being mindful of how much you give and ensuring that you are not constantly sacrificing yourself for others. One of the most powerful ways to maintain boundaries while still being friendly is through clear communication. If someone asks for something you are not comfortable with, you can decline politely but firmly. I appreciate the invite, but I won't be able to make it. I understand where you're coming from, but I need to do what's best for me. These statements are simple, direct, and respectful. They allow you to remain kind without compromising your boundaries. Another key aspect of maintaining boundaries is recognizing when to distance yourself from those who do not respect them. If someone continuously ignores your limits, disregards your feelings, or expects you to always accommodate them without considering your needs, it may be time to reassess that relationship. The right people in your life will respect your boundaries without making you feel guilty for having them. It is also important to remember that setting boundaries is not selfish. It is necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you constantly give to others without protecting your energy, you will eventually feel exhausted, drained, and unfulfilled. Boundaries allow you to give from a place of wholeness rather than depletion. They ensure that your friendliness remains a gift rather than an obligation. People who truly care about you will appreciate your kindness without expecting you to compromise yourself. They will understand that being friendly does not mean being endlessly available. They will recognize that your time and energy are valuable and will treat you accordingly. Those who do not respect your boundaries were never meant to have access to you in the first place. At the end of the day, your friendliness is one of your greatest strengths, but it must be paired with discernment. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your kindness. Not every situation requires you to say yes, and not every person will appreciate the warmth you bring. The key is to know when to give, when to step back, and when to draw the line. When you embrace the balance between friendliness and boundaries, you protect your peace, your energy, and your self-worth. You learn that kindness does not mean self-sacrifice. You understand that being liked is not as important as being respected. And most importantly, you realize that the people who truly value you will never expect you to compromise yourself just to make them comfortable. Throughout life, we learn the undeniable truth that people appreciate more what they have to earn. This is especially true when it comes to men and romantic relationships. When something requires effort and investment, it naturally holds more value. This is why you should never make yourself too readily available or too easily accessible. If you give too much without requiring anything in return, you may find yourself undervalued or even overlooked. Instead, let's explore how allowing men to earn your time and affection can lead to healthier, more balanced connections. When you freely give your energy, time, and love without expecting anything in return, it can create an imbalance. Imagine a beautiful gemstone found lying in the dirt versus one displayed in a velvet-lined box in a jewelry store. The context changes the perception. The same goes for relationships. When a man has to put in effort to be a part of your life, he appreciates you more. He sees you as a rare find, someone worth working for, rather than someone who is simply convenient. Think about the times you've been overly accommodating. Perhaps you answered his calls immediately, adjusted your schedule to fit his, or showered him with attention even when it wasn't reciprocated. In doing so, you may have unknowingly communicated that your time and affection come easily. But consider this: when something is too easy to attain, it is often taken for granted. On the other hand, when a man has to earn your trust, your attention, and your affection, he recognizes your value and understands that your presence in his life is a privilege, not a given. Allowing a man to earn your time doesn't mean playing games or being manipulative. It's about setting standards and sticking to them. It's about recognizing your worth and not settling for less than you deserve. When a man knows he must invest effort to gain your interest, he is more likely to show up, fully interested in your calling, in his interest in your life, and showing genuine interest in your life. These actions demonstrate respect, appreciation, and a desire to build something real. Men by nature are often driven by challenges and the thrill of pursuit. If everything is handed to them without effort, it can dull their interest. On the contrary, when they sense that they need to put in work, it ignites a sense of purpose. It's not about being aloof or disinterested, but about creating a space where he feels that he is actively contributing to the relationship. This allows him to take pride in his role and deepens his emotional connection to you. Letting a man earn your love also prevents you from overextending yourself. Women often fall into the trap of overgiving, thinking it will win a man's heart. But when you constantly give without receiving, you deplete your energy and foster resentment. By requiring him to earn your affection, you create a reciprocal dynamic. This balance ensures you are not the only one investing emotionally, which helps maintain your self-respect and prevents burnout. Moreover, when a man has to earn your presence, it filters out those who are not serious. A man who isn't willing to put in the effort likely isn't looking for anything meaningful. He may be seeking convenience rather than commitment. By setting standards and maintaining them, you naturally attract men who are genuinely interested in building something substantial with you. You save yourself from the heartache of investing in someone who doesn't have long-term intentions. This approach also encourages personal growth for both partners. When a man works to earn your affection, he learns to appreciate and respect you on a deeper level. He becomes more attentive, considerate, and invested. At the same time, you learn to hold yourself in high regard, understanding that you are worthy of effort and dedication. You stop accepting breadcrumbs and start expecting more, not out of arrogance, but out of a healthy sense of self-worth. Building a meaningful relationship requires effort from both sides. When both partners are invested, it creates a strong foundation of mutual respect and admiration. By allowing a man to earn your love, you're not only ensuring that he values you, but you're also ensuring that you're stepping into a partnership built on equality and respect. It's essential to remember that your worth is not determined by how much you give, but by how much you value yourself. A man who truly cares for you will gladly make the effort to be with you. He will rise to meet your standards, not because he has to, but because he wants to. He understands that real love, the kind worth having, requires dedication, patience, and genuine care. In the end, allowing men to earn your affection isn't about manipulation, it's about creating a relationship where both people feel valued. It's about recognizing that your love is a gift that should be cherished and respected. You deserve someone who is willing to put in the effort to be with you, someone who sees your worth and treats you accordingly. So take a step back, embrace your value, and know that the right person will gladly work to earn a place in your life. Friendliness is a beautiful quality, one that reflects warmth, openness, and kindness. It makes interactions easier, builds connections, and fosters a sense of community. However, when friendliness extends beyond healthy limits, when it lacks boundaries and discernment, it can attract the wrong people into your life. Being overly friendly can sometimes make you a magnet for those who seek to take advantage of your kindness, manipulate your goodwill, or exploit your generous nature for their own benefit. One of the first ways over-friendliness can attract the wrong people is by making you seem too accessible. When you are always available, always eager to please, and always willing to say yes, some people see this as an opportunity rather than a virtue. They assume that you have no boundaries and that they can rely on you for their needs without having to give anything in return. You may find yourself constantly helping others, doing favors, or giving your time without reciprocation. In the end, this can leave you feeling drained, unappreciated, and even resentful. Over-friendliness can also attract people who lack respect for you. When someone notices that you are overly accommodating, they may start to test your limits. They might push you to do things you don't want to do, assume you will always say yes, or fail to acknowledge your needs. These individuals do not necessarily dislike you, but they do not respect you enough to treat you with the same care and consideration that you give them. The more you allow them to overstep, the more they will continue to do so. Another issue with being too friendly is that it can attract manipulative people. Some individuals are highly skilled at identifying those who are eager to please and use that to their advantage. They know that a kind-hearted, overly friendly person may hesitate to say no, set boundaries, or stand up for themselves. These people may take from you emotionally, financially, or mentally, knowing that you are unlikely to resist. They may guilt-trip you into doing things for them, make you feel responsible for their problems, or use your kindness as a way to control your actions. Over-friendliness can also lead to attracting the wrong romantic partners. If you are always overly giving, accommodating, and eager to please, some people may enter your life not because they love and respect you, but because they see you as someone who will do anything for them. This dynamic creates an imbalance where you give too much while the other person takes without effort. Instead of being in a healthy, reciprocal relationship, you might find yourself feeling used, undervalued, or even emotionally drained. Moreover, being overly friendly can make you a target for energy vampires, people who drain your emotional and mental well-being. These individuals thrive on receiving attention, validation, and support from others without giving anything in return. They seek out those who are always willing to listen, always willing to help, and always there to provide emotional support. Over time, this one-sided dynamic can leave you feeling exhausted, depleted, and emotionally overwhelmed. At its core, over-friendliness without discernment can make you susceptible to attracting relationships that do not serve you. It is not about becoming cold, distant, or unkind. It is about balancing warmth with wisdom. True kindness does not mean allowing people to walk all over you. It does not mean sacrificing your own needs for the comfort of others. It means giving from a place of strength, not obligation. The key to protecting yourself from attracting the wrong people is learning to set boundaries. You can still be warm and compassionate while maintaining a sense of self-respect. You can be kind without overextending yourself. You can help others without allowing them to take advantage of you. Boundaries do not make you selfish. They make you self-aware. They ensure that the right people stay in your life, while the wrong ones naturally drift away. Practicing discernment in your interactions is also essential. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to your time, energy, and kindness. Pay attention to how people treat you. Do they only reach out when they need something? Do they respect your time and effort? Do they reciprocate the energy you give? The answers to these questions will help you determine who truly values your presence and who is simply using your friendliness for their own gain. Additionally, confidence plays a significant role in balancing friendliness with self-respect. When you recognize your own worth, you do not feel the need to overcompensate by constantly proving your kindness. You understand that you do not have to please everyone or say yes to every request in order to be loved and appreciated. True connections come from mutual respect, not from excessive accommodation. At the end of the day, being friendly is a wonderful trait, but it should be paired with wisdom. Not everyone you meet has good intentions, and not everyone deserves your endless generosity. When you learn to set boundaries, practice discernment, and honor your own needs, you protect yourself from attracting people who seek to take advantage of your kindness. You allow space for genuine reciprocal relationships, ones where your warmth is valued, your efforts are appreciated, and your presence is respected. A confident woman understands the value of her time, energy, and emotional well-being. She does not overextend herself trying to please others, nor does she stretch beyond her limits to gain approval. Instead, she operates from a place of self-respect, knowing that her worth is not determined by how much she gives, but by how much she values herself. When a woman embraces confidence, she learns to give in a way that nourishes her rather than depletes her. She recognizes that pouring too much of herself into others without receiving the same in return leads to exhaustion, resentment, and diminished self-worth. One of the key reasons a confident woman does not overextend herself is because she understands the importance of boundaries. She knows that her time and energy are precious resources, not to be given away carelessly. While she may be kind and generous, she is also discerning about where and how she invests her efforts. She does not say yes when she really means no. She does not allow guilt or obligation to pressure her into commitments that drain her. She stands firm in her decisions, knowing that protecting her own well-being is not selfish. It is necessary. Overextending oneself often comes from a deep desire to be liked or accepted. Many people, especially women, are conditioned to believe that they must give endlessly to prove their worth. But a confident woman rejects this notion. She does not seek validation through overgiving. She knows that real love and respect are not earned by sacrificing herself for others. She understands that if someone only values her for what she can provide rather than for who she is, then that connection is not worth maintaining. She also recognizes that overextending herself can lead to burnout. When a woman constantly puts others before herself, whether in relationships, work, or friendships, she drains her own reserves. She begins to feel exhausted, unappreciated, and even resentful. A confident woman prevents this by ensuring that her needs are met first. She takes time to rest, recharge, and engage in activities that bring her joy. She understands that she cannot pour from an empty cup, and that self-care is a necessity, not a luxury. A confident woman also does not allow others to take advantage of her kindness. She is loving, but she is not naive. She can recognize when someone is only in her life for what she can offer. She does not allow people to use her generosity without reciprocation. If she notices a pattern of one-sided giving, she is not afraid to step back and reassess the relationship. She does not fear losing people who do not genuinely care for her, because she values herself too much to accept anything less than mutual respect. Additionally, she understands that saying no is a powerful act of self-love. She does not feel guilty for declining requests that do not align with her priorities. She knows that every time she says yes to something that drains her, she is saying no to something that could have enriched her. She chooses wisely, making decisions based on what serves her highest good. In relationships, a confident woman does not overextend herself to keep a man interested. She knows that a healthy relationship is built on mutual effort, not one-sided giving. She does not chase, beg, or compromise her values just to hold on to someone. She allows space for the right person to step up and show their commitment. She knows that if she has to constantly prove her worth, she is in the wrong relationship. In her career, she does not overwork herself to the point of exhaustion just to gain recognition. She does her best, but she also knows when to step back and recharge. She does not tie her entire identity to her achievements. She understands that her value is inherent, not dependent on external validation. She advocates for herself, asks for what she deserves, and does not allow herself to be undervalued. A confident woman also does not overextend herself emotionally. She listens and supports others, but she does not take on their burdens as her own. She knows the difference between being compassionate and being emotionally drained. She protects her peace by surrounding herself with people who uplift her rather than those who constantly take from her. At the heart of it all, a confident woman moves through life with a deep sense of self-worth. She does not feel the need to prove herself through excessive giving. She understands that real confidence comes from balance, knowing when to give and when to step back, when to help and when to focus on herself. She trusts that those who truly appreciate her will never require her to overextend herself just to be valued. By maintaining her boundaries, protecting her energy, and honoring her own needs, a confident woman ensures that she lives a fulfilling life, one where she gives from a place of abundance rather than depletion. She embodies strength, grace, and self-respect, knowing that her worth is not measured by how much she does for others, but by how deeply she values herself.